In this video, we will head up to the Arctic Circle to visit the remote Lofoten Islands in Norway. These islands boast dramatic landscapes and some of the most breathtaking beaches. We were originally drawn to this place for its epic hiking trails and had planned and booked a trip out here for our honeymoon. Unfortunately, we got married right at the height of COVID in 2020 when international travel was stalled, so we had to cancel our trip. But here we are, 5 years and 2 kids later, finally making it happen. So in July of 2025, we packed up our kids and met my parents at the Oslo airport, and then we all flew up to Evenes. I broke this trip into 2 Airbnb home bases to keep the packing and unpacking to a minimum. So I decided to book a B&B just outside the tourist-heavy area for our first half of the trip. We rented a house on Hodoya, just north of Svolvær. It was about a 2-hour drive from the airport. I booked this place because it included the use of a motorboat and paddleboards. For this first part of the trip, I envisioned just spending some quality time with my parents, enjoying the sunshine, and getting out on the water. I Google Earthed a little bit before we went out and found some cute little beaches on islands near the B&B to explore. We really lucked out with the weather and had sunshine the entire first half of our trip. We spent 3 of our days here boating, beaching, and paddleboarding. It was like our own little private island oasis. There were so many sea urchins, wildflowers, and even some cloudberries. I don't think I've ever seen Levi play as hard as he did on those white sand beaches. We made a trip down to Henningsvær during the week where we walked around the quaint town and saw the famous soccer field. We got lunch at the trendy hipster cafe that overlooks the ocean, and in the early afternoon my parents took the kids back to the B&B, and Ryan and I decided to hike up Festvågtind. We veered off the trail a little bit to check out some views from the ridge. Our little side trip was the best part of the hike. It was so fun to challenge our minds and our bodies and take in the epic views. I could have spent a full week just scrambling around those ridges and taking in all the different viewpoints. We checked out of our first Airbnb and started our drive towards the more touristy areas and our next accommodation in Reine. Our first stop on the road was lunch. We happened upon this cozy hostel and cafe that had some delicious homemade sandwiches and soup and even a fun play area for kids. We then went over to the Offersøykammen hike with the whole family, as everything I read online said it was one of the easier hikes in the area. In my opinion, this was not an easy hike, mostly due to the loose rocks and dirt with a fairly steep climb. Nonetheless, with a little bribery, Levi made it to the top, and we enjoyed more views of the bright blue water and the rugged mountains. When we made it back to the car, we were all filthy and ready to go take showers, so we finished up our drive to Reine. We rented a little red cabin with fjord views. It was very cute, but not the most kid-friendly place. Thankfully, no one fell down the steep stairs during our stay. The place was a great location and had a big fenced-in yard where we spent a lot of time outside playing airplane and swinging in the hammock. We stayed busy during our time in this area. One night, Ryan and I rented paddle boards for a little midnight sun date. And again, we had the best weather. It was so fun to paddle around in the golden hour light and check out the Rorbu cabins from the water. We visited the town of Ah and the fishing museum, and of course tried the highly recommended cinnamon rolls. There was a line out the door to get these, but they were well worth the wait. One day, Mom and Dad did a little 2-hour kayak trip, and we all ate dinner at the famous Anita's restaurant. We were a little disappointed by the food, but the great outdoor seating and play area made up for it. After our dinner at Anita's, Reine and I made a very last-minute decision to hike up Reinebringen with Heidi. As far as technicality, this was the easiest hike that we did on our trip. It consists of just under 2,000 stone steps that were put in by Nepalese Sherpas. We continued a little further past the end of the steps and past the main viewpoint so we could have an area to ourselves and enjoy our favorite troll cookies and some lemonade. The following day, we went as a family out to Nusfjord, the old fishing village and museum. It was neat to learn about the history of cod fishing and the villages in the area. I'm so glad that we did all these outdoor activities because in the next few days we didn't have the best weather. Ryan and I got rained out of our attempt to get up Reine and Klavika Beach, which was kind of a bummer, but I have zero room to complain after 10 straight days of sunshine. On our final day, we drove back E10 towards the airport. Mom, Dad, and Levi went to the Viking Museum, and we stopped at a cute little play cafe since it was pouring rain. We stayed in a nice Airbnb about 10 minutes from the airport, and soaked in some last few moments of family time before we parted ways in the morning. This was a fantastic trip, and Lofoten definitely lived up to the hype. I would love to come back someday and just camp up in the mountains or visit some of the less popular regions of northern Norway or Scandinavia in general. Thanks for coming along, and stay tuned for our next adventure, a 4-day carry-on-only trip to Copenhagen. Ha ha ha!